All right. Sorry about the delay. I forgot to put this on my calendar. So if it isn't on my calendar, it may not as well exist in my brain. So, anyways, we are here. We're going to take a look at the SV06. This is not a review unit. This is one we purchased at full retail price from SOVOL. I believe we did a pre-order on it. I can't remember. I think I ordered it back in December, and it showed up here I want to say about a week or two ago. So, anyways, all right. Sorry, I was running around trying to clean up the workbench because I had just gotten done working on my drone a couple days ago and it was still messy from that. So, what we're going to do is we're going to unbox it. It's completely sealed. As you can see, I have not opened it. It came to us just shipped like this. In its original box. So we're going to open it up. We're going to go through what's inside and we're going to put it together. And then we're going to do a quick test print. After we do the quick test print, we're going to go ahead and tear into it and see what type of issues they have on like the electrical side, like if the grounding is correct, what kind of power supply they're using, wire terminations, that kind of stuff. And then if someone can remind me, I can go ahead and test thermal runaway once we go ahead and get that all put together. I would assume they're going to be on there. So, but it's always best to test. So I'm going to actually switch over to my wireless mic pack here because typically people said that when we do the wireless, it's a lot better because sometimes the microphone that I'm using right now does not pick up when I'm moving around. And looking at my video preview, dear God, do I need a haircut? I was supposed to get one a couple days ago, but it's busy. Yeah, in terms of company stuff, we rolled out our new shipping insurance today because Route has not been working on our website, we found out, because they refuse to update their plugin in a timely manner. So you guys will see that. So basically, if you want to have your order insured, we do have that, and we'll be handling everything instead of relying on a third party because we have had some complaints with Route as they've been getting, bigger and bigger. So let's see. Can you guys hear me? Okay. The main mic should be muted, and I should just be coming over the wireless one now. How's the audio quality? All right. Let's get our supplementary camera going here. And that should fire up. Get our fill light on. And let's see, is this one gonna cooperate with me today? It is, but we're upside down. Hang on, I can fix that really quick in OBS here. Transform, rotate 180. Bam, we're right side up now. All right. So let's go ahead and get this bad boy open. We will be doing firmware for this printer. I think this will be the first new addition to the new 2.6 firmware that we have. And that testing is going pretty well. We found a couple of bugs with input shaping on certain machines, but overall everything seems to be working fairly well. So my goal is to get that out by the end of this month. Come on. I cut you. There we go. Let's see what's inside. There we go. All right. Did I see the new design prototype test? I did. There's a new sticker in our Discord server as a result. That guy is insane. Like, we can talk about that on a Hangout stream. This is a printer stream. All right. So, let's see. Is my autofocus working? Yes, it is. Okay. All right, so we immediately are greeted with a manual here. Now, I think this has a Z probe. I actually did not look at the specs on this, to be completely honest. I just bought it because everybody kept asking us to buy it. They have a leveling guide. It looks like this homes to Max. It's got an auto Z align, so we're going to play with that. This printer actually does look pretty decent. I'm very intrigued by it. So, and it also has the standard 120/64 LCDs that we like because they actually have full support in Marlin, so we're no fighting with touchscreens or color screens. So, yeah. All right. we got our spool holder here. Standard fare, not surprising. This is packed really well. Maybe a little too well. Come on. Gotta get the screen out of there. We got our 128/64 screen here. Looks like a Creality style one, which I would expect considering it's SOVOL. And while SOVOL is a separate company from Creality, they do share parts. So I see a janky looking power supply already. So I don't think we're going to have a Meanwell in here. It looks almost like a Chenglang. We got a nice pack of parts here. Let's see. We got snips, screws, a little tiny scraper. I haven't seen one of these in ages. It looks like it comes with a flex sheet. A little power cord here. Here's a part for the spool holder. And then I hate these things. I think the only time I've ever printed with these was when I got my first printer. I throw these out. This is literally going in the trash. Come on. Are we still sending out like little crappy samples in lieu of an actual spool? Like, I'll even take Creality's. Like, do you remember when Creality had those tiny little they had those tiny little like quarter-kilo spools? Like, I would rather see that as long as it's not a spool. It is such a pain to print off of one of those little spiral coil things, whatever the hell you want to call them. All right. So this is interesting. The X carriage looks like it's just modular or just screws on. I do see some belt tensioners here. I do like this, and it does work, so that's nice. I'm a fan of tensioners because it makes things easier to set up. Overall, the quality looks pretty good so far. We'll see how it is once we get it together. But typically, SOVOL's done pretty well when we've done videos. So they're one of the brands I definitely can recommend. In terms of their support, I've never had to use it, so I don't know if they're just as crappy as Creality and all the other companies in China. But their build quality is typically pretty good. Okay, so they're using like an inductive type sensor here, so this will probably not work on anything but metal, which is fine because that's what it comes with. But even though this looks like a similar form factor to like our Easy ABL, this is probably only going to be inductive, and we'll test that. Looks like they're going the way of Creality, though, and using ribbon cables, which I'm not a fan of. This looks kind of like a derivative of the Sprite extruder. In terms of repairability, this is definitely going to be a little bit harder to deal with than another machine. And the funny thing is, I'm looking at this plug. It almost looks like they intended for a BL Touch to be used or a CR Touch, and they ended up going with one of these. I'll take one of these over a BL Touch or CR Touch any day just because they're more reliable. All right. Yep, called it Chenglang. So, crappy power supply. Yeah, doesn't look like it's UL listed either. I don't see any UL listed or Intertech logos on here. So this is probably not going to be the greatest. We're going to test this to see how the grounding is and everything. But yeah, this is the Chengling, which is what Creality uses in some of their machines. So we'll see. I see an XT60 on there, so hopefully those are good quality. It looks like those might be a name brand XT60. I don't see anything else in the package here, so we're going to go ahead and put this down. All right. Onto the floor it goes. Okay, so we're going to look at the instructions, and we're going to build this per the instructions, assuming, you know, like we're an average user putting it together. That's kind of how I try to come at this. So let's go ahead and bring the camera just a little bit lower here so we get a better shot. All right. Yeah, probably angle it down a little bit more. All right. So let's look through the manual and see what they recommend on how to build this dang thing. All right. So we got our typical common sense disclaimers that we see on most printers. I need to move this over to my other screen here so I can actually see my video preview. Give me 1 second here. All right. Let's see. So SV06, it's a 220 by 220 by 250. Recommended printing speed is 80 millimeters a second or less. So that is truthful. That's good. Printing accuracy 0.1 millimeter plus or minus. That's accurate. They're not claiming to do 400 millimeters a second like some of these Chinese companies do. It is a 24-volt printer. It says we've got these parts of the gantry, the base, the control box, the power supply, the display. I got my display, and the extruder kit and the filament holder. So it looks like we got everything in here. In the little toolbox, they're saying we got zip ties, power cables, wrench toolkit, which is like hex Allen keys, some wrenches and a screwdriver, spare nozzle, a spatula, which is a little scraper, nozzle cleaning needle, snips, TF card, and then the screws. So it looks like we've got 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 screws total. So this might be a quick stream. So far, I guess whoever wrote this did not spell check because it's a display. We're going to install the display. All right, but that's not the first step. So we're going to use the 4 M5x50s to attach the upright to the gantry to the base. So I'm going to go in through the side. Obviously, you want to make sure you put it on the right way. So this is the front here. We got a tensioner. I may be a little biased, but I like their light blue color scheme here. I mean, the wiring's all clean, but I hate ribbon cables. And the reason I hate ribbon cables is, as a consumer, it makes it harder to service the machine, if that makes sense. Because it's all a ribbon cable. It's not wires where if you have a break in the wire, you can just cut it out and splice it in. It's kind of a pain. The bed wire seems pretty nice. We do have strain relief here, so this is a good thing to see. The wire feels like, I don't know if it's like silicone. It almost feels like it's just, it's not a AC power cable. It's got that same feel to it, but yeah, it's got a nice feel to it. So it's nice and soft, which is what you want. All right. So you see these slots here on the side. You want to slot the upright in here. Make sure your cables are out of the way. It is nice that they milled those little parts in there. That fits in nice. These motor mounts are plastic, which it's fine. I've got printers with printed parts for their motor mounts, and they do just fine. All right. Let's get the screws and stuff out. Hey, another set of blue snips. I really, really could use more sets of blue snips. All right, zip ties. Put these off to the side. So nice little starter package of parts here. This is what I would expect on a printer. So they didn't like leave anything out that I would see fit complaining about. We got a little SD card. And we got a little King Fast. What is this, 8 gig? So we're not using the Neotex anymore. Using King Fast. Got a spare nozzle here. Little spare nozzle. Looks like it'll take the same as the Crealities. And then our screws are in here and they're labeled. And we're going to be masochists and use the included tools to assemble this. I'm not going to get out my TH3D tool set or my Bond Huss drivers. I do like this for changing the nozzle. That's nice. I mean, it only worked with their nozzles. But yeah, better than nothing. Because a lot of people, I'm shocked by the amount of people that do not have basic tools in their homes. Like, even just a crappy, like, $30 tool set from Harbor Freight or your hardware store. Like, it astounds me how little tools people have. It's wild. Like, I've always grew up in a house where my dad had tools, and, you know, we had tools in the house and in the garage and everything, and it just seems like that's becoming less and less. Like, I actually gave my brother Jeff my Enter 3 Max for his kids to start learning 3D printing, and I was shocked that he had like nothing for like wrenches and stuff. Like we had to literally go to Lowe's because I brought the printer over and I was showing him how to adjust the eccentric nuts, and I was like, how do you not have any tools? Like, how? So there are many. This needs TH3Ds in Marlin. Well, hopefully we can get it going. Does this have a filament sensor on it? I know it has auto bed leveling, and that's fine. Like I said, I'll take any auto bed leveling over no bed leveling any day. Any auto bed leveling, even a BL touch over manual bed leveling. So, or hell, even a CR touch. I'll lower my standards even more. So, all right. I'm putting the screws in. I mean, I will say for a beginner, this looks like this might actually be a pretty decent machine. So far, the fit and finish looks pretty good. All the screws are going in nice and smooth. I'm just, and there's not many to put in. It's crazy that this cost the same amount as an ANET A8 that I bought as my first printer, and this is so much better than an ANET A8. Like, the ANET A8 was like such a pile of crap. But I learned a lot, and it's just like, this is crazy that these are getting this good, and coming down to such a low price point. So, and it does have a magnetic sheet. Now, we are going to test to see how well this magnet holds up to the heat, because typically, like, this does not feel that strong. It feels like the Creality magnets, which are ones that get weak at about 60 C, which replacing the magnet's not a big deal. I'll take this over a glass plate any day, even if it's a weaker magnet. But that's one of the ways that they cut the cost, because high temp magnets are a lot more expensive to manufacture than ones that are just lower temperature. So, but we'll see. We'll ramp the bed up, see if it'll hit 100. All right. So they said there's no filament sensor, so I'll probably be able to get one working on here. I'm assuming this has got like a 422 board in it. Just looking at the USB and the SD, and peeking in here, it looks like this is probably like a Creality 422 board. So if that's the case, we'll probably be able to get our filament sensor, like our easy out sensor, working on it. I'm pretty handy with that stuff. All right. So the upright's on. So now we gotta hook up the display. So we're gonna hook the display up, and the display goes over here. And I'm assuming there's a cable for the display. There is a cable for the display. There also are the motor cables, so I'm going to hook these up now so I don't forget. And there was one on the left here. So let me get that one hooked up. And there was another one here. I don't know what this one goes to. Oh, it goes to the X. That one's going to go up to the X. Okay. I was like, where does this one go? It goes up to the X. All right, so all the motors are hooked up. We're going to unbox the display. And does it tell you which one to hook it into? They don't tell you what cable to hook it into, but I know just because of the type of cable connection. It's a single 10-pin. It's going to go into this EXP3 header. So if you have dual cable connections, they usually go into 1 and 2. If it's single, it goes into 3. So I'm going to plug that into 3. And then I'm going to put the display on the printer frame. There we go. And then they want us to put the power supply on with the M4x20 screws. So we just put the display on, and I'm going to put the power supply on here. M4x20, they're right here. SOVOL owns this board this time around. It's probably a rebrand, which is fine. The Creality 422 boards are fine. So if it is a rebrand, it'll be fine. Man, it is really like sleeting here right now. I can hear it on the garage door behind me. How many of you guys knew that I was in a garage? I have the illusion of being in a fancy office, but really, I'm in a garage. Did you guys know that? Did I fool you? Thought TH3D was big business. No, we are not. We are just humble Hoosiers here. All right. So assembly-wise, I'll be honest, I did not realize this was going to be such a quick assembly. So what a nice way to wrap up a Friday. I might actually go grab one of those beers I have in my fridge. They're calling my name. What do you guys think? I mean, it's not even 3 o'clock. Maybe someone will judge me for that. But do I really care? Nah, I don't really care. It's Friday. It's Friday. And I hope my buddy Tyler's watching, so I can just show him that I have a nice bottle of zombie dust here that he can't get where he's at in Alaska, because you can only get them around these parts. I don't know if he's here, but this is probably one of my favorite, like, more hoppier beers. But they're right here in Indiana. All right. Oh, that's good. That's exactly what I wanted. All right, power supply is on. We need to attach the extruder kit. So there are 3 M3x5s that attach the extruder on. So let's go ahead and whoop, get that over here. So 1, 2, 3 screw holes. Okay, I thought this was plastic for a second, but it is metal. I was about to be a little worried. I was like, man, we're having the whole hot end mount to a thin plastic plate. I was about to get a little worried that they went a little too crazy with the cost cutting, but it just looked like plastic. All right, so that's going to go on like this. Everything does fit really nicely together. Like the injection molding on these feels pretty good. All right. Got to pour that into a glass. I don't have a glass in my office here. I don't feel like going into the house. I wasn't planning on having one, but I was like, I'm thirsty and a beer sounds great right now. Because it's Friday. Cue Rebecca Black. All right. So I'm looking at the fan configuration here. It looks like we have 2 4010 fans on here. 1, 2, so that's good. I already carry replacements for these. So we got one here for the layer duct, and they're using this one to cool the heatsink. So we've already got those in stock. I like this for feeding the plastic here. We got a little doohickey. There's a lot of nice touches on this. I don't like the ribbon cable still, but a lot of nice touches. Okay, so they're saying, please turn the aircraft switch on the control box hanging plate to the left. I mean, I guess it looks like an aircraft if a aircraft is a space shuttle. So I guess. So unlocked, locked. Okay. I mean, that actually feels really nice. This is an interesting way to ship it. So that goes on like that, and then so it can't come up. I do like that. Cable management is on point here. Now, I'm assuming we got to cut this to free up this cable. There we go. Again, ribbon cables. I'm never going to like ribbon cables. You can try to tell me otherwise. If you're a fan of ribbon cables, I will never like them because of the repairability. And we have a whole nother page on how to put the control box on. And then we're going to use M5x10s to put the spool holder on. It looks like we're going to kick it over to the left. If you're looking at the printer from the front, we put the spool holder in. And then, yeah, they do tell you all the motor connections. So Y, Z2, EXP3, power, set your power switch, which I will. Mine's on 230 by default. Hook up your X and your Z, and then the extruder. So they do tell you the wiring and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and set this. It's on 230. We're just going to take a little flathead, put it to 115. I'm going to go ahead and connect the XT60 here. And this looks like a knockoff AMAS, because this just says XT60-H-M. So that's not an AMAS brand name one. So looks like we got a clone there. So hopefully these don't have issues. You guys remember the Ender 3s and them burning those connectors up because they use crappy quality connectors? I remember. Do you remember? I remember. So here's the thing: if this is a 4-axis board, which it might be if it's a Creality, they're probably going to auto level these by just ramming them up to the top here. That's what I would assume. So we'll see. But maybe they have a 5-driver board. If they do, that'd be cool. I'd be surprised. But who knows? We're going to open it up and see. And put the spool holder out top here. No! It fell. They crimped their XT60s? No. You're supposed to solder XT60s. Oh, am I going to have to open up the XT60? Did they seriously crimp them instead of soldering them? Are you kidding me? Oh, man. As somebody that's soldered many XT60s, because I have a drone, that pains me to even think about. All right, so we got the spool holder up. I'm going to go grab a roll of our... I'm going to use the Easy Choice here. We're going to do the Easy Choice Lucky Penny, which is a silk copper. We're going to go ahead and load that in. I'm only going to load it a little bit because obviously I got to heat the nozzle, but get that in. So, all right, that went in easy enough. All right, let's get the connector up here and then we're ready to power it on. Okay. Plug this in here. You guys can see that. I'm plugging the connector in here. Come on, get in there. And they do have a little strain relief here for it. All right. Well, that was probably one of the easiest builds I've done. What do you guys think? That went together pretty easily. That's it. It's built. The printer's built. I'll probably spend more time tearing into it and seeing what they messed up. Oh, I forgot one thing. The most important part. Right here. Got to peel the display. Wow. Oh, yeah, that looks good. All right. Ba-bum. All right. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see if it works. It is a nice display. No weird color D-Win, dock eye stuff. Just good old 12864 goodness. That was one of the reasons I just said screw it and I bought it. Because you guys kept asking about it. And I was like, well, it's got my favorite type of LCD. Let's go ahead and order one. All right. Let's see. SOVOL. All right, let's see. I'm going to do an auto home. And I'm going to move this up so you guys can see what it does. Okay, so the drivers are pretty quiet. So I'm assuming it has silent drivers. That's pretty standard. Oh, it's doing sensorless homing, isn't it? Yep. So are these in standalone mode or UART? They might actually have a nice... board in here, and it's probably not a 422 because that's a sensorless homing thing where it bumped into the side, so there's no end stops on here. I just realized that. So basically what sensorless homing does, and our EasyBoard actually supports this, is sensorless homing feels when the motor stops, if that makes sense. I'm going to see if this stops. So this is inductive because my finger, it's not reading my finger, but if I take this, it'll probably read it. See? So it is an inductive sensor. On our Easy ABLs, if you touch them, they will sense your finger. This is definitely inductive. So if you put glass on here or a thick plastic sheet like, what is it, Garolite that people like printing on, it's not going to detect it. So, and this is a 12 millimeter probe. So I'm assuming the sensing disc, oh, it's not detecting it. Do you hear that? Yeah, they need to work on the firmware. Did you guys hear that? It wasn't detecting the homing. That's one of the reasons I'm a fan of actual physical end stops. I do have some shmoo on my rods here. I'm going to clean my rods off. Because sensorless homing, if it's not tuned correctly, it will do that. Like you just saw, where it just basically rams it into the gantry. All right, so I clean those rods off. There's like some sticky goo on here. It's not lubricant. It's like some tape or something. All right, now they say here for the leveling guide, it says go press the knob, main, bed leveling, and then auto Z-align. I'm assuming what auto Z-align is going to do is it's going to run these up to the top and ram them into these stops here. Now, the thing I'll be curious to know is if these motors are wired on independent axes or if it's just wired in parallel and it's just going to bottom them out on here. Yeah, so that's why I'm not a big fan of sensorless homing. It's a cool feature, but like it's way less reliable than an end stop. As you can see there, it was just until it figured its life out. So let's see here. So it says the machine will auto home first, then the entire x-axis will rise to the top for calibration, then descend to auto home. When the machine hits the top, it makes a noise. This is normal. Just keep waiting for it to go down. So I'm wondering if they have a single Z driver on here and they're just going to bottom them out. That's fine. It doesn't actually hurt anything. It just doesn't sound good. So we'll see. This one's going to hit first, it looks like. Oh, yeah. They're just bottoming them out. So it's probably a 4-driver board. That's fine, though. I would, like, this is a nice addition because then your gantry's level. So, it's screwed up again. Yeah. It's the sensorless homing is not working correctly. If that's what they're using. I would assume that's what they're using. Unless they're just... Hold on. What if they're not using sensorless homing? And what if they're just ramming the motors into the printer frame to home it? I just thought about that. We'll figure all that out when we start doing the firmware. Parallel on a single driver. Parallel on a single driver. Yeah, that's fine. It is, but it's too sensitive. All right, well, while this is going, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can preheat. Yeah, I can preheat PLA. They have their preheat set pretty low. 185 on the nozzle and 60C on the bed. All right. Well, let's see what's on the USB card here. And we're going to run a print with its stock. I'm going to assume here we're going to have to set a Z offset. And they do say here, click bed leveling, auto home. And it says preheat, then auto home. This doesn't make sense here. Auto home, preheat, auto home. After the machine stops, go back and click probe Z offset and adjust the distance. So, all right. It says bed leveling. So they definitely changed things. They do have an M48 probe test. Let's see. Oh, they have Z fade enabled by default. You guys see this? That's something I would turn off because this is a feature that causes all sorts of weird print issues. So yeah, our firmware has it disabled by default. I'm going to see what their M48 probe test is. So it's actually here. It's the first printer I think that's had the M48 probe test. Let's see what it does. They're running it really slow. I'm curious to see what it gets. It should get a decent result. It's easy to make cheap inductive sensors. It's dealing with capacitive sensors that it gets kind of sketchy in terms of accuracy when you deal with cheap ones. But inductive sensors are usually pretty good, even if they're, you know, a cheap one. So we'll see. I would expect this to pull like 0.01 or less. We'll see. It's doing it right now. All right, so we got 0.006932. Yeah, that's good. That's what I would expect. All right, so bed leveling, it says we need to go... Okay, we already did auto home. How many requires... Oh, because there's auto home under the bed leveling. So they definitely have customized Marlin a bit. Homing requires machine heat up automatically. Proceed, okay. So it's waiting for the bed to get to temp. So that tells me they probably had issues with these drifting a lot. A lot of the newer sensors you'll see, like our newer EZ-ABLs, like they theoretically can be affected by temperature, but the newer stuff typically does not need to be like auto heated or heated up in order to get a consistent result. So, but clearly they needed to do something because we're heating up to 60C on the bed, and then we got to set our Z offset. And they're going to do a 25-point leveling, so this is probably going to take a bit. So you see that? 25-point. The good news is this can all be changed in firmware. So all this stuff that they have you do is going to be just irrelevant once we're running our firmware on it. I'm wondering if this is waiting for the temperature to drop, because it's set the nozzle to 120. Because it was supposed to do an auto home. Do I have to go back in and do it? Oh, yeah, you have to do it again. What the hell? This menu system is weird. Yeah, it's ramming stuff. I think they're using sensorless homing. I think it's just not properly tuned. Okay. So now we go back, prepare, probe Z, or no, not prepare, bed leveling, probe Z offset. And let's set this. They say 0.2 millimeters. So it is going down. Okay, there we go. We're grabbing a little bit. I'm going to come up just a tiny bit. I hope they have baby stepping. All right. Let's see. Then they want us to level the bed. So I'm assuming they're storing this into EEPROM. While we're waiting for that to go, I'm going to check chat. All right. I think this is the way to turn it. Oh, wait. I shouldn't touch it while it's probing. All right. Let's see. The part cooling fan placement is just weird. Region rats represent. Oh, yeah. J Trowers near Crown Point. Yeah, you're not far from us. At least I'm not a person shill. Oh, I think you're talking about the crazy guy. The Crimper XT60s. Let's see. We're all sock puppets. The bum part is how it works. Whenever you see heat shrink tube, it's going to be crimp. That's not true. I heat shrink over my solders on my XT60s. But that's just me. I feel like most people do that though. Let's see. If it's sensorless homing, they have to be in UART if I recall correctly. I think you can go either way, because sensorless homing has its own pin. Because we have sensorless homing on our EasyBoard V2, we just don't use it because it has accuracy issues. So let's see. 3 experiences. Did you see Marlin's implementing a new config file? Looks like all the configs should be just put in that. That's interesting. I have not. Yeah, this is really slow. Oh man, come on. This is like almost as slow as a CR Touch or a BL Touch. This does say it's a 235 by 235, so if you guys are looking for plates, looks like the ones we carry already in that size should work on here. It says 235 by 235 on here, or maybe that's these dimensions, but it's only a 220 by 220 print area, so. All right, so, and then it tells you, which is good, it tells you to go and hit store settings. So I'm going to go to prepare, or bed leveling, and store settings. Okay, I'm going to disable fade height here because that always causes issues in my experience. And I think we're ready. I think we're ready to print. So let me go ahead and preheat this. I need to get the hot end up. I'm going to flush the filament through the nozzle. I'm going to bump the print temp up a little bit to like 200. I usually like to run my PLA hotter. All right, let's put the SD card in. Let's see. Media inserted, so they did put that there. Can someone check and see if you guys are bored? Can you guys check and see if they released the source for this? SOVOL's been pretty good about it typically. But I'll admit I have not checked to see if the source code is on here. So this is interesting. So they actually have SS_3D benchy. So I'm assuming that's their benchy here. So I'll go ahead and get the filament flushed out. I do like this little knob here to feed. It does make it really easy. So there is black filament in here. So they clearly printed with this. And we're starting the print. It did drop my print temp down to 185. I typically run the easy choice at like 200 something. So I'm going to go like 205. Let's see if they have baby stepping. They do not have baby stepping. That's annoying. So you have auto bed leveling and no baby stepping. Come on. And we're way too close on this one side here. That is a huge purge line. So, all right. Well, that's not. It's sticking okay. Well, we're gonna let it run. Let me get in here. Let me move this this light out of the way of the camera here, and get the camera in with a fill light. It is very quiet, so they did a good job with the noise levels on this. I don't think I'm going to be able to get in here very close to show the print. But there's no baby stepping. You guys did all these other customizations on this firmware, and you have no baby stepping? Like, why? Why would you not have baby stepping enabled? Like, that makes no sense. But it is printing. It's a little close, but I couldn't adjust it because there's no baby stepping. All right. Well, while this is going, what do you guys want to chat about? What kind of projects are you working on? What's your, actually, let's do this. What do you guys, what do you guys say your go-to printer is? Like, what's your favorite printer? You're running a print job and you're gonna put it on your favorite machine. What is that machine? They did release source code. Excellent. Excellent. Someone said Stealth Chop is enabled on E9. I'm assuming you mean the motor or E0. Yeah, we're going to disable that. Hopefully we can disable it. So if this actually has drivers that are controllable in firmware, this is actually going to be a really good value. Man, it is sleeting pretty good out there. I hear it pinging the door. I'm sorry that I can't get the camera in at a better angle. I might be able... I don't know if a milk crate would be big enough to support this. Because I kind of want to get the camera in at a better angle so we can see it printing. Here, let me do this. I'm going to put it on top of its box. All right, let me move the camera out of the way. I'll put it up on top of its box here. And I'm going to see if I can come in from the side and get a closer look. How's that? So yeah, it's definitely too close, but I can't adjust it without restarting the print. So that's a big negative. Like, how come you guys are not putting baby stepping on by default? Like, that seems like a major oversight. So, but it'll get better as it gets a couple more layers up. I see you, Tor. So the Z is not on sensors homing, they ram it to the top. That's fine. I'm okay with that. The question is, does Marlin actually support that, or am I going to have to code in some sort of menu item to do that? Now, if they release the source code, I could take a look at it. SKL, are you the guy who I've been chatting with about this printer on Discord? I'm assuming you are. Yeah, you are. I got it. All right. Well, what I might do, because we want to let this, I do want to let this print. I do have to use the restroom, and I'm probably going to go grab a glass for my beer. So I'll put some music on, and I'll let you guys watch this print. And then if you guys want to ask questions about the printer, the bot is live. So if you want to ask questions about this printer, the SV06, you know, like what we're going to do with it, upgrades, firmware, that kind of stuff, you can put those in, and I'll answer those when I get back. So I'll pop some music on, and then I'll be back. I'm going to use the restroom, and then we'll be back, and you guys can watch this run a benchy. And if it catches on fire, call my cell phone. So I'll be right back. Hello? Damn it. You know, I'm always worried about having like one of those, you know, hot mic moments. So I turn my mic pack off when I walk away. So yeah, there's that. I was saying, look at, I'm gonna try to do a nice pour. How's that for a pour? There's like almost no head on there. I wish my buddy Tyro was watching so I can make him jealous. He loves this beer. It's good when it's caught. Absolutely, look at that. This just looks so delicious. I like it. Okay, is it just me or does beer taste better when you drink it out of a cup? I don't know. All right, Vega says, so how would sensorless humming work? Is it like in the automotive world where a module measures a difference in the amp draw when it reaches end of travel? Yeah, it's measuring the load from what I understand. I could be wrong, but from what I understand with it is, you know, it knows what it should be pulling in terms of moving, and then when it feels that load increase because the motor's ramming up against something, it can assume that we're hitting the end of travel, which is then sensorless homing. The thing with sensorless homing, though, is that it's not as accurate as an end stop switch. So especially if like power off resume, it's not accurate as an end stop. So that's why I prefer end stop switches over sensorless homing. So all right, let's look at the source code while we're waiting for this. I might be able. Do you want me to overlay the printer's camera on top of this? Here, let me see. Main screen here. Should share my source code. Let me duplicate, copy, paste, duplicate, and I'm gonna move this here. Here, let's do this. And then I'm going to change the camera here from the main camera to the other camera I have. Let's see. Video capture device, ARM Cam 1. And let me resize that. How's that? You guys like that? Looks like it needs to come down just a little bit to fit into my little frame here. Look at that. You guys like that? You better. Took me ages to do that. Alright, let's see what's in their source code. So this is SV06 source code. That's nice. Let's see. 25-point auto bed loading. 3D silent board. Or sorry, 32-bit silent board. Belt tensioner pre-installed. High temperature filaments such as PETG, ABS, carbon fiber, etc. Okay, well we're gonna see how high the temp goes. So what I'm curious to see, like let's look at their configuration H file as the first one. So right off the bat, I can see they're using 2092. You can tell that by the configuration version here. So this would be 209 and then 0.02. So this is even a couple versions behind our unified firmware that is already out of date. So string author Dust SV06. Let's see what board. So there's board SOVOL SV131. I don't know if this will be in the new Marlin that we're working on. How is the audio level? Because I do like having audio on in the background. Is the audio level okay? Or does the music need to come down? Yup84 is already thinking about how to spend his tax money. And it's with us, so I appreciate it. I'll be honest, things have been slow last year and going into this year, so if, you know, any purchases through us, I really appreciate it. Like, the economy sucks right now. But we're trying here. Oh no, tripod's here. I might have to wrap this stream up. We can't have people like him in here. I thought YouTube was supposed to put a stop to people like him. Okay, so this is weird. Do you guys see this? They're using a custom thermistor. Why? Why? That's so weird. Look at drivers. All right, let's see what drivers are. Scroll down. Drivers should be coming up soon. Wait, do they have thermal protection? Isn't that somewhere around here? I have looked at Marlin so many times. I have no idea where it's even located anymore, because I also use our firmware and it's just automatically on. So we're using PID on the bed, which is ballsy. They do have, I don't know if these are the defaults, but they do have some PID values in here. Let's go to the drivers. Let's see. Okay, so I just like this printer a lot more. We got TMC 2209s not in standalone mode. So I'm assuming if we look at the advanced file, so they're using, interesting. So they're using a different, they're using a different thermistor here, so that's good. So these are reasons why we need the source code. So let's say you wanted to just update this printer to your own version of Marlin. We're not even talking about our stuff that we do. You would need all this stuff to make sure you can replicate the stock settings on the printer, and it's great that they shared this. I really like this. So here's our steps per millimeter. Wow, look at that E-axis. 691.5 for the stock steps per millimeter. That's really high. Oh, I heard the dog chewing on something. Comet is in his crate because he cannot be trusted after he ate my drone. But Remo the good boy's in here. Alright, let's see. Use Z probe for Z homing. Probe pin, PB1, so this is good. We got the pin number here that the probe's on. Fixed mounted probe, that's expected. We should have the offset here, so it's 25 and negative 25. So is that correct? Yeah, negative in the front, and then it's to the right. Yeah, so that looks correct. The probing, wow. They're only probing at 4 millimeters a second. This is like BL touch speeds. Now, I know cheap inductive probes, and you can usually get away with 8. So I'm going to test that. But, wow. That's slow. That's really slow. Multiple probing, too. That's what I would expect. I'm just looking what else they have here. So far, this does look like the correct Z height. So the thing I'm looking at is I want to look at their menu system here. So I believe it's these files menu. Is it regular menu? Probably is. So, okay, I think this SS stuff, I think that's SOVOL. I want to see what they did for the what they did for those other menus. And I'm trying to remember where is it menu and then what would they have put it underneath? I'd have to compare this with the Marlin source code to see, but they definitely modified the menu settings on this. I'll have to look at this offline here because I'm probably not going to be able to find it. I mean, I could just do a compare, so let's see here. So let me pull down their source code. Let's do this. I'll show you. So we know they're using Marlin 2092, so I can download that. Let me extract this here. And let's grab a copy of Marlin 2092. So I'm going to go ahead and extract this. SV06. And then let's go get a copy of Marlin 2092. And we can see what they modified. So if we go and find 2092. Here's Marlin 2092. This is what it looks like they use for their base. Let's go ahead and grab a copy of Marlin 2092. And then we'll use, I use WinMerge to compare stuff. I see people asking other questions. I mean, I guess I'll answer random questions. We try to keep the questions on topic for the printer, just because this is a, you know, SV06 stream. Let's see. Julia says, does it easy able to prevent the head dive into the bed on normal use? Does it work like a physical switch that prevents accidents? The BL touch only works when probing, so I was wondering about the easy ABL. The easy ABL is only going to be active when it's probing. So, yeah, and you don't want it, actually, it's going to be always triggered on your first couple layers, because your trigger point's going to be always higher than your nozzle, so the nozzle doesn't hit the bed when you're probing. So let's see here. So let's compare their code. So I got their stuff on the left side, and we're going to put Marlin 2092 on the right, and we're going to see what changes to the files they made. So let's see. Marlin source, I'm assuming the LCD is going to have some changes. So here we go. So changes menu advanced. Let's see. EEPROM, so they move the EEPROM settings here. Bed leveling. So this is all their extra stuff here. I'm looking to see where they added in the ram it to the top. Unless it's actually a Marlin thing. It might be. You never know. I've never used it, so let's see. Yep, Auto Z align. Message Auto Z align, M48 test. G code items, Auto Z align 34. So I'm wondering if that's, it says mechanical gantry calibration. Maybe that's what they're using. Is that an actual thing? I've actually never looked at it. I'm gonna have to see what they did here. Marlin UI, there's some changes in here. Okay, those are just spacing. Whatever, we can ignore that. Configuration H. Let me see what they have on the advanced here. They do have a power loss recovery thing. So we're going to take a look at the electronics. So they're doing some interesting stuff here. They have BL Touch settings set. Watchdog. So they have baby stepping defined, but they don't have the double click. Oh, here. Baby step Z probe offset. So like somebody said, I saw if you go back into the Z probe offset menu, you can do baby stepping, but I'm not seeing that probe menu as an option when I'm actually in the LCD, unless it's under, is going to be under tune. Yeah, it's under tune, probe Z offset. Why you wouldn't enable the double click is beyond me. That's so weird. But this is why we like having, oh wait, they're running linear advance too. They have linear advance enabled on here by default. You guys see this? They're running linear advance on this printer. Yeah, looking at the motor, how it's moving, they're running linear advance on here. What the hell? That's so weird. This is why it's nice to have the, yeah, here. So these drivers are actually in UR mode. So this board is actually pretty nice. So here, they've got the current set at 860 for the X, 900 for the Y. They changed their R-sense values on here, which is weird. Where's the sensorless homing? I think those are lower down. So here's they're all sharing one serial port for the X, Y, and Z. They have stealth chop enabled on all axes. I would disable it on E, which our firmware will disable it on E, so that's good. They tune their hybrid thresholds. Here, sensorless homing. So they're doing 65 for the sensitivity on X, 68 on the Y. TMC debugging is enabled. They're automatically enabling the bed mesh when the printer powers on. They're sending an M420S1 when the printer powers on. So that'll restore the bed leveling mesh. They do have host action commands enabled. So this isn't terrible. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Mechanical gantry calibration. I didn't even know this was an option in Marlin because I've never used it. That's hilarious. So gantry feed rate, the current. Oh, man. Oh, adds capability to work with any adjustable current drivers. Interesting. So here, extra height. So yeah, it's just ramming up to the top. Whatever. Sensorless homing is enabled on X and Y. It's not enabled on Z. It's only on X and Y, it looks like. Yeah, there's no on Z. Okay, so far for the price, I'm actually liking this printer. They have source code. It's got a lot of nice features. This might end up being... Maybe I'll end up putting this printer downstairs. Because I need one on my downstairs desk. What I was going to look at is a platform I/O. So, STM32 F103 RET6 SOVOL Maple is the environment. So if I go into the INI... yeah, so here, there are changes here. So it looks like there's modifications to that one, but I'm assuming if I go into the Maple here, we'll find their environment. So here it is. Overall, this is a pretty good job. They got source code. The firmware's got some little things, but I definitely think we can liven up this printer with our firmware for sure. Yeah, so they added in their own stuff here. Yeah, I think once I update the firmware on here, I'm going to like that. Oh, look at the BL Touch name is renamed to CR Touch in their source code. I wonder if they had planned to put a CR Touch on here. Interesting. Krista says she'll take it. This is still printing the benchy. This is actually pretty... I guess it's not that slow. We're at only 27 minutes in. Have we been streaming that long? We've been streaming for over an hour already. So let me ask you this. Do you guys, when we have source code available, do you guys like seeing me going through and messing with this kind of stuff? And I was right. I called it here. Release version 2092. So this is their code on the left. This is the Marlin 2092 on the right. So it looks like they might have pulled down like maybe a bug fix, if that makes sense. So here's an interesting thing. So this is their pin file for this board. So I wonder if this is in Marlin 212. If not, I will port it over to Marlin 212. Because I think, like I said, this is going to be the next printer that we're going to do. So this is interesting. They're sharing the enable pins here. Do you guys see this? So X, Y, Z, and E are all on the same enable pin. So if you disable one motor, it turns all of them off. Here's the UART. So we've got all the separate UART pins here. PC1 for the TX and RX, they're using one. Yeah, so, I mean, this is a nice board from what I can see just from the config. We'll see what it looks like. We'll see what it looks like once I open it up. But so far, I'm liking what I see. I don't regret buying this printer. I'm looking to see what... That's interesting. So they modified the Creality V4 and then they made their own pins file, it looks like. PC6 has an issue with it resetting the board. That's the beeper pin. PC6. Is that the beeper pin on the Creality board? Yeah. So this is probably a derivative of the 422 board. Interesting. Where's my questions? I gotta pull my questions file up here. So when I'm reading questions, they go like this. This is how I see them. Any recommendation on where to buy it from? Buy it right from their site. What stepper motors are they using, and how much is it 3D printed? I think there's nothing 3D printed on here. I can't see anything. They're using DGJL motors. That's the brand. I've never heard of it. I'm not a brand snob when it comes to motors. I don't care. Yeah, and as far as I can see, there's nothing 3D printed on here. This looks all injection molded. It is printing really, really nice. Like, I like this printer so far. We'll see how the electronics look. Do you guys want me to kill the benchy or let it finish? What are we going to do? Kill the benchy or let it finish? Here, I'll switch back over so you guys can see the benchy. It's coming out really nice. The print quality is really good. Do we let it finish or do we kill it and dig into the guts? Okay, here. I'm going to set up a poll. We're going to let the poll decide. Hang on. Where's my poll? I know my bot does a poll. Hang on. Hang on. Voting on kill, print, and dig in, or finish. Let's see. Option 1. Kill it. Or finish. All right, we're gonna do one, or we'll do a 2-minute timer here. Start. All right, the bot should have posted directions in the chat. You guys need to press exclamation point vote and then the ID. So like exclamation point vote 0 if you want to kill it. Does that make sense? I will say this printer is very quiet. I will give it that. It's a very quiet machine. All right, let's see. I think everybody's seen a benchy. We're 20-2. 2 for finish, 20 for kill. I think it's gonna be kill. I mean, the print quality looks pretty good. Like out of the box. It's nice seeing printers like getting better with their cooling and everything. Even though this is just a little tiny fan, it's actually cooling it pretty decently. We got 5 seconds remaining. 4, 3, 2, 1, and kill it wins. 21-2. 21-2. All right. Let me turn my autofocus off here and get this camera back to where I normally have it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. Let's test the power loss recovery. Let's see, because I think I saw it enabled. So I'm gonna turn it off. And, oh no, I lost my power. Let's see if it has power loss recovery. I'm not a fan of power loss recovery because it eats up the SD card. I'm going to say, so it says power outage. I'm going to hit resume print. And it's heating the bed back up, which obviously it only dropped like 1 degree. It's trying to heat the bed back up. There we go, 59. And now the extruder's heating back to 205, which is where we had it. So I changed the print temp, so it remembered what print temp I had it set at. We're going to see how well this actually resumes. Oh no, Wendy's is starting to fight back? What do you mean? Wendy's? What are you talking about, Tor? Alright, so it homed its X and Y. Now, I've had very hit and miss with the power loss recovery in Marlin. I personally do not use it on any machines. Alright, so we're going to go back down. I mean, it resumed, but oh yeah, see, this is the problem. Do you see here? It's reprinting the layer it already printed. So like this prints, oh, it's making all sorts of noises because it's dragging the nozzle. Oh, and here, this is another reason why centralist homing sucks, and I'm going to show you, because the positioning is complete ass. So I'm going to let this do a couple layers. And I'll show you guys why centralist homing sucks over end stops. Especially with power loss recovery. It is so inaccurate that it will not get back to the original position most of the time. Like, it is so bad. I'm going to let this do a couple layers so you guys can see just how far off the resume is because it doesn't have end stops. Like, it's rough. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the print. I mean, we're talking, it's a good, like, millimeter off in either direction, if not more. So power loss recovery on this printer is basically useless. Here. And it's still jamming the motor. Look how far off this was. Like, it was mashing it into the nozzle. This is why I say power loss recovery is basically useless. Look at, it's hanging off the edge. Like, it will not resume. Look how far off that is on the look, like right here on the hole. See how much that's hanging off? That's why centralist homing and power loss recovery combined are a terrible idea. But the overall print quality is actually really good. The layers are very even. The cooling's pretty good. All right. So let's go ahead and tear into this. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. I'm going to unload the filament real quick. Wrap that back on the spool. And if you guys do want to pick up some of our filament, we have our filament in the store right now. We have our Easy Choice, which is your more basic colors, and we do consider single color silk a basic color. These are 20 bucks for a roll, and they're really good quality. So if you guys are looking to support us and you guys want some filament, you don't need parts, you can always use filament. Go ahead and head over to our shop. So just go to th3dstudio.com and hit store at the top. All right. So one of the first things I'm going to do is test the grounding. So we can do that fairly easily by just going off of one of the screws that goes into this chassis and testing continuity to see if this actually has a proper ground. That's one of the big issues with a lot of these cheaper power supplies, is that the grounding is either really bad or it's non-existent. So if I go off the screw at the top here that is going directly here, yeah, that's bad. Look at that, 6 ohms of resistance. So that fails a grounding test by standards. So do you see that? 6 ohms of resistance. That's why these are garbage. So grounding test failed. Not surprising considering this is a really crappy quality power supply. I will probably be replacing, not probably, I will be replacing this with a Meanwell. which we do carry in the shop already. So the 350 watt 24 volt mean wells we carry will work as a replacement for this. And the case, we already have a case designed to go over the mean well power supplies. That case will fit this receptacle. So it'd be a direct swap out. Take this out, pull this out, change the power supply. I do not trust these. I've had these almost catch on fire. Like they short out, smoke starts coming out, the whole house smells terrible. It's not a good time. So, yep, power supply fails a grounding test. Don't knock over my beer. Hang on. Well, here, I'm gonna take a drink every time I find something screwed up. So, grounding test failed. There's one. Let's see if the wires are tinned. How do you open this? Oh, here we go. The off and on. Okay. I'm going to assume you just undo that and you can get inside. Hey, if they didn't want you going inside, they wouldn't put a screw here that's clearly labeled. I'm assuming this is how you go inside. Yep. All right. Oh my God, I thought I was going to have to chug the beer. Do you guys see what I see? Oh, man. Oh, okay, we failed the grounding test because of the crap power supply. But do you guys see what they did? SOVOL, you are after my own heart. Is that crimped ferrules I see on the wires instead of tinned wires? It is. Oh, my Lord. Oh. Oh, really? You guys are using the Giga device crap in here? You guys see this garbage? Look at that. So I was all excited about the board, and look at this. Knockoff processors. Look at that. Knockoff processor. Damn. Damn. The knockoff processor. There's a little switch here. Do you guys see that little switch there? I wonder what that does. It says on. It says, you know, I'm willing to bet that is. You see LMT? I'm wondering if that's like for the limit switches. To switch between sensorless homing and not sensorless homing. It looks like here they plan for some future expansion. Do you guys see this by the SD slot? Do you see this row of pins here? I'm willing to bet this row of pins is so they can put an external SD slot if they want to use this board for something else, which is smart. I'm assuming so because if you look at it, it's the same amount of pins as the SD slot. It looks like the 422 boards. Now, could this run our easy board? It might. I don't know, because I know people are going to freaking ask. Let's see if the screw holes line up. Because here's the thing, our easy board 2 also has sensorless homing. So, let's see. We've got... I mean, the board form factor looks pretty damn close. That screw behind the SD lines up. The screw between the X and Y lines up. The screw down here by the voltage regulator lines up. There's one in the top right corner. Yeah, you know what? I might have to switch this out. I'll get the firmware working on the stock one. Maybe I'll put an easy board in here. What do you guys think? Because the easy board supports sensorless homing. The V2 anyways, not the V1. What do you guys think? How many of you guys would want to put an easy board 2 in your SOVOL? Is it worth me doing? Electronics wise, aside from the knockoff processor, looks pretty good. So the knockoff processor kind of irks me, but like I feel like this is just becoming standard place because these companies are cutting costs because STM chips are so expensive. All right, so wiring gets a thumbs up. This is like the second printer on the channel in the entire history of this channel. I've been doing this for years. First time I've ever seen crimped, or like one of the first times I've seen crimped ferrules on the wired connections. I think the only other one that had crimps on it was the Ziltech gear. But knockoff processor, so here's the bad. Knockoff processor, this is dangerous because there's no ground. Or not no ground, but high resistance. If you guys look up standards for like safety, 6 ohms of resistance is way too high for resistance. So this is not good, but luckily we can replace this. You just take this off. You can bolt up a Meanwell 350 watt 24 volt. We have an actual case on our website. We have a case on our website that will take this stock thing. So switching power supply is not going to be a big deal. So I'm going to do that to ours. But that board was looking so good until it had the knockoff processor on it. I guess you can't win them all. This is what I hate about these Chinese companies, is they get so much right, and then they're cost-cutting, takes something that could have been almost perfect, and makes it into something that's eh. So, the Gigadevice chip works. We have source code. But I do not like the Gigadevice chips. They're just not as reliable and as stable as the STM32. So, they work, yes. We can get firmware working on them, but that's probably why I think SKL was saying there's a weird issue with the beeper pin where it resets. It's probably because of the Gigadevice chip. I'd be willing to bet if there was an STM on there, it probably wouldn't have the same problem. So, Gigadevice is a licensed ARM CPU maker, but the thing is, their whole thing is copying STM's part numbers and just changing the STM in front of it to GD and making knockoffs of their chips that are meant to be drop-in replacements for the STMs. That's why I'm not a fan of them. So... but yeah, this is not good. The fact that this is got a bad ground, which again, you know, you can make assumptions with these cheap Chinese power supplies, and I'd say at least 70-80% of the time, your assumption that they're going to have a bad ground is going to be correct, as we see here. So, one last thing. Let's go ahead and take apart this XT60, because I'm probably going to get rid of this XT60. This is one more point of failure. But let's see if I can get in here with my pick tool and see if they crimped it or soldered it. Somebody said they crimped it, and as far as I'm aware, it's not. You're not supposed to crimp XT60s. I need something with a little more of a point on here. See if I can get this cover off. Mine are soldered. Can you guys see that? Mine are soldered. They're not crimped. Those are soldered. Can you see that? Maybe hard to see, but mine are soldered. They're not crimped. At least on this side, it's not crimped. Let's check the other one. Let's see. This side is also soldered. So both sides are soldered. You guys see that? They're both soldered. Okay. Alright. So power supply, I mean, it still sucks, but it's a relatively easy and cheap fix. I mean, a power supply is like 50, 60 bucks. This one does work, but I personally do not like relying on these, so I will be changing this out for a mean wheel. I'll show you guys what you need if you want to check the mean wells. There we go. So if you want to get a mean well power supply, we can go to our website here, and you can just type in 350W 24V, and right here, this is the power supply that this would take. And if you want the cover, we actually have the cover on our site if you want to print it yourself. For $2 is the minimum. If you want to give us more, I'd appreciate it. But this is the cover that will go on that. And this will take that receptacle. So basically just unscrew the receptacle from the stock one, take the wires off, put it onto the new one, transplant it, mount it back up to the printer. But we also sell that pre-printed as well. If you guys saw that coming here. So the PSU cover. So if you don't want to print it, it is a fairly large part. That's what it looks like. So this goes right onto the Meanwhile power supply, and then you can bolt it up. So literally, I could probably do it in 10 minutes, I want to say, to swap this out. So there we go. So we have the STL file. We also have the PSU. So this will be the PSU to get as our 24-volt 350 watt, and these are genuine mean wells. If you buy mean wells from sites like Amazon and eBay, you could run the risk of getting clones. I've gotten clones, and we only get ours from actual mean well resellers. So you will get a real mean well power supply. All right, all in all, so wrap up. So what is this going for? I think these were under $300, I want to say. Let's see. So this printer is supposed to be all metal. It's a geared extruder, which you can tell by the E-steps, so that's good. It's $239 right now on SOVOL's website. I do not have an affiliate link for SOVOL, so there you go. If you guys want to support us, buy some filament or something from our shop, I'd really appreciate it. But all in all, for $240, I am willing to look past the crappy power supply and the knockoff processor because everything else seems pretty damn good. I'm really torn between replacing the motherboard or keeping the stock one just because it's got that GigaDevice chip. We have an Aquila X2, or not X2, X1 with a GigaDevice chip in our print farm, and it's been working okay, but the temperatures are all over the place. I'll have to do some more testing to see. The temperature seems stable on here, so maybe it's just the Voxelab board that is, you know, having temp issues. But overall, I think the build quality is really nice. And for $240, and it looks like they're still doing a pre-order if you're shipping from the US. China, I'm assuming it's not a pre-order. It doesn't say pre-order, but they have US, EU, UK, Canada, and Australia. And those all say pre-order in the title. It took us about a month to get ours, but for $240, this comes with a lot of features. The only thing I would have liked to see is a filament sensor, but I'll probably be able to get one working with our Easy Out kits. So if you guys have one and you want to add a filament sensor, that is something I'm going to get. I'm going to get it working. One way or another, I'm going to get it working. So we'll have filament sensing working on there. But for the price, I do think it is a good value at $240. Now they're saying the normal price, because it's on sale for the pre-order, is $299. I think it still would be a decent buy even at $299. Any higher than that, you're losing me. But for a pretty for a lot of features in here, and it doesn't have the weird color or touchscreen LCDs. The board has a lot of good features, even though it's using a clone processor. Yes, it works. My thing with the GigaDevice is that I'd rather just have the STM processors. They're proven, they're reliable. GigaDevice is, you know, knocking off STM, and I'm not a fan of that. So the other thing too is that's why they're using the Maple libraries. Is if you cannot use STM code on a non-STM CPU, or you're breaking the license agreement, which could get you in trouble, especially as a manufacturer. So, all right, let me check the questions really quick. So I see we've got. Brian said, what is the bed size? It's 220 by 220 by 250. That's pretty good. That's Ender 3 size. Jay Char said, would it be safe to use a buck converter with a screen to get live PSU? Wait, would it be safe to use a buck converter with a screen to get live PSU output levels to troubleshoot with nothing connected to outputs? I don't know what you mean by that. That doesn't make any sense. And will I make a video switching out the PSU? Do you guys want to see me switching out the PSU? I could just... I guess I'd probably record that if you guys want. Because I would imagine that'd probably be a 3 or 4 minute video tops. So... Uber Mario says, many folks also experience inconsistent ABL performance across the whole bed, and myself included. Works fine in the center with smaller prints, but crap further out you go. That could be the firmware. So these sensors, even though obviously I like our sensors, in general, these cheap inductive sensors typically give you good results. Now, here's the other thing. That signal for that sensor is all going over that ribbon cable back into the control box. So that's opportunities to have poor accuracy because it's running in parallel with the motor lines, it's running in parallel with the heater lines, the fans. So if I have issues, I will probably look at switching out the ABL. And the funny thing is we just discontinued our 12mm sensor, which is what this uses. But looking at this, I probably would be able to make a mount to put either the 8mm or the 18mm on here. So I basically, like, if you guys are watching this and you have an SV06 and you're having issues with their auto bed leveling sensor, let us know, because if we get enough reports, I might look into taking the time to design a mount to put our kit on there, because our kits are going to be a lot more versatile, because this stock one's only going to work on the metal plate, whereas our kits will work on glass, they'll work on, you know, Garolite surfaces, or that Marmobot one, I can't remember what it's called, but our sensors work on all surfaces, where this, you can only use a metal plate because it's an inductive type probe. So, Yeah, oh, that's another thing. Do they have, how is the bed mounted? Because there's no, it's got auto leveling. I didn't even notice. They did already solid mount the bed. So that's another plus. Yeah, there's a lot for me to like on this. You know, minor complaints like switching the PSU out. In general, these Chinese printers, especially under the $300 mark, you're not going to get a Meanwhile power supply on them. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get these knockoff crap power supplies that probably have bad grounds. So if something happens, you're probably going to get electrocuted. But I always switch them out. I don't run our printers without Meanwhiles in them. I'm not risking, you know, my office getting burnt down or our shop or my garage or my house or whatever. It's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. Like $50 per printer to switch them out to a Meanwhile, you know, 60 tops, that's worth not having to worry about them going up in flames because the power supply decided to, you know, eat shit that night. So anyways, there should be a plug for the filament sensor on the PCB. There probably is. I didn't look at it, but I do want to wrap this up because it is getting towards the end of the day. But we will be doing firmware for this. They did release the source code, so thank you, SOVOL. I really do appreciate that you guys release the source code like you should. Looking at you, Creality, you guys got more source code to cough up. You know, it's funny how we started doing a page now highlighting the GPL violations, and magically, weeks later, we start getting companies complying. So we're going to keep this up indefinitely. And I see what's his name? SKL sent me a picture of his board. I can't tell if it's got a filament sensor port. It might already have something plugged into it, but I will figure it out. This is what I do. I make these printers better. You know, there's just something satisfying about taking these cheap printers and making them print better. This one's got a really good start. Again, I wish they would use a Meanwhile. I wish they would not use a knockoff processor, but I get it. Like, they're trying to cut costs. I'm still going to complain about it, and I'm still going to highlight it because I feel like it's not fair to just be like, oh, well, no. I'm not like these other shills on YouTube where, you know, they can't say too honest of things because it'll impact their affiliate revenue, and that's how they live. I don't care. We're supported by our shop, so if you guys want to support us, you don't have to buy the stuff we're doing reviews on. You can just go to our shop. If you want to buy some upgrades for your printer, you want to buy some filament, that's what gives us the money to do this and gives me the time to sit down and do firmware for these printers, gives me time to do the videos for these printers and streams. So anyways, I think that's about it. I appreciate you guys coming by. I'm going to finish off my snacky here. And then, do you see him eyeballing me, Snacky? You heard me say snacky. So there's mine. Cheers to you guys. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And Remo's going to get 2 snackies. What do we think? 2? 2 snackies? Come here. Come here. Sit. Shake. Speak. Come on. Yeah, that's a good one. There we go. Can we do one more shake? Can we do a shake? Good boy. There you go. All right. Well, Remo's a good boy. He's got his snackies. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the stream and hanging out. I enjoyed hanging out with you guys too. Hope you learned something. And if you have an SV06 and you're interested in swapping out the ABL probe because you're having issues, let us know. If we get enough people, like I said, I'll model up a mount to put our probe on there and figure out how to wire it up. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great weekend. And as always, happy printing. I will see you guys on the next stream.